Hello, my name is Karen Ashley. The book I chose for my interactive read aloud book was The Enormous Turnip. In the book Yummy 8 Favorite Tales by Lucy Cousins. This book was published in 2009 and received an award in 2012 for Practical Preschool Silver Awards. I would start my read aloud by showing the book to the children and telling them who the author is and the illustrator. And then I always ask, and what does the author do and what does the illustrator do? Trying to get the point across to the children that someone did write these words and draw these pictures in this book. The summary of the book was the farmer plants turnips in his garden. The turnip grows in a very enormous size. The farmer discovers he needs help pulling the turnip out of the ground as it is too big for him to pull out by himself. The farmer requires help by asking one friend to help him. Then that person asks someone else. Eventually, they have several helping as a team to pull out a very enormous turnip out of the ground. Once the turnip is out of the ground, the farmer will ask all of his helpers if they would like to come join him to help him eat the turnip. The main theme, the explicit, was the enormous turnip was too big for one person to pull out of the ground. This required help to complete the task. The implicit, friends help them conquer the task of the turnip by helping others. I would talk about and review all the characters in the text and the sequence of the story. Why can't the farmer pull the turnip out of the ground? Have you ever eaten a turnip? If so, what did it taste like? And how big do you think this turnip is? I would have the children show me with their hands how big they think it is and why they think it grew that big. The reason I chose this next book for my comparison, The Giant Turnip, was because both books were about turnips and helping others. However, there were different settings and characters in each book for a comparison. The name of this book is The Gigantic Turnip. It is by Tolstoy and Sharkey. The Giant Turnip was published by Barefoot Books in 1998. It won a major award in 1999, the Mother Goose Nursery Rhyme Award. The summary of this book is the farmer and his wife live on a farm with several different animals. They plant a garden in the spring on their farm to grow vegetables. All the vegetables have been picked except the gigantic turnip. One morning in the fall, the farmer decides it is time to pick the gigantic turnip. He finds out very fast he cannot do it all by himself. He gets help from his wife and all the animals on the farm, including one little mouse. With everybody's help, they finally pull the gigantic turnip out of the ground. My explicit main theme on this book was the enormous turnip was too big for one person to pull out. This required help to complete the task. My implicit was everyone on the farm helps the farmer conquer the task of the turnip. Now, I would also show the book to the class. We'd talk about the author and the illustrator again. And then we're going to talk about these different pages in these books. The first one is the beginning of the story. And this one here, as you can see, this is from the Gigantic Turnip. And the start of this was, a long time ago, an old man and an old woman lived together in a crooked old cottage with a large, overgrown garden. So, as you can see, there's a man and a woman and a crooked cottage and green hills and grass. And then in the other book I would show them, this is from The Enormous Turnip from Yummy, and it reads, once upon a time an old man wanted to grow turnips, so he scattered some seeds in his garden and said, grow, seeds, grow. And you can tell the difference. This is about one farmer where the other is about his farmer and his wife. In this, the illustrations is bold, and there's not much showing the setting except the farmer throwing seeds out. So that is one comparison that I would do in this book. The next part would be at the point where they pull, let me see, the turnip out of the garden. The reading on this part is a little different in each book. On this page it says, dog, dog, help us pull the turnip, called the girl. They pulled and they pulled. Cat, cat, help us pull up the turnip, called the dog. They pulled and they pulled. Mouse, mouse, help us pull up the turnip, called the cat. They pulled and they pulled and they pulled. And hooray! At last the turnip came up. And that was when they pulled the turnip out of the ground on the Yummy book. On the Gigantic Turnip, it was a little bit different. The word used there was pop instead of hooray. The gigantic turnip came flying out of the ground, and everyone fell over. The canaries fell on the mouse, the geese fell on the canaries, the hens fell on the geese, the cats fell on the hens, the pigs fell on the cats, the cow fell on the pigs, the old woman fell on the cow, and the old man fell on the old woman. All of them lay on the ground together and just laughed. So there was a good comparison at this point between the two books. There was also, I would discuss how many more turnips did it take to pull out of the turnip out of the ground out of the second book, the Gigantic Turnip, versus the Yummy. Why do you think the Gigantic Turnip had more characters? And what was the difference in the characters? As in the Yummy book, there were not as many characters as there was on the farm in the Gigantic Turnip. The second part of the questions I would ask if the turnip looks the same in both books. If it's not, what is the difference? The coloring was different in both of these books, and it showed the turnip looked bigger and the gigantic turnip versus the enormous turnip. I like also expanding their vocabulary with the words gigantic and enormous. And then I would ask the children, did both the stories have the same ending? If not, what was different in the endings? My response plan would be the intellectual development, have the students predict what they think the farmer in both stories will grow next and why. My language development, as a story is being read, have the student repeat the words and use hand motions when the farmer is trying to pull the turnip out of the ground. They pulled and they pulled. This is a pattern language that will help increase their vocabulary. The more you repeat certain words for speech development, that helps. Personality development, ask the students what activity could we do in the book. I'm going to give 2 suggestions, and they can choose whichever activity they want to do. We could plant seeds of different vegetables, or just a turnip seed and see which one grows the largest. Or you could each child could make their own favorite turnip on the paper, and then we could play a game with that. Social and moral development, while talking about the books and the pattern portion, the children help repeat. Ask the students, what else could we have said instead of they pulled and they pulled? Do a group discussion and then reread the book saying the words each student decided on. This activity will show the students there is more than one perspective to the story. And that is the end of my read aloud, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you later. Thank you. Bye.